Miller from VC3 DAO on the show, where she talks about how investment DAOs are different and how they're different from traditional VC funds. I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Well, good morning on my side, early morning. You're calling from stateside. So today we have Jules Miller on the show from VC3 DAO. So why don't you tell us 30-second background about VC3 DAO, what you do there, and your work before.
Sure. So I'm Jules. I do two things. So I'm a partner in a normal venture fund called Mindset Ventures, where we do early stage B2B software investing. And then in the last 12 months, we have spun out and partnered with a group called the Kaufman Fellows Network to create VC3 DAO, which is an investment DAO intended to experiment with what venture capital looks like at scale in a decentralized way. So we unbundle the things that a VC does, so deal flow diligence and portfolio support, using this new model of decentralized autonomous organizations. And we're doing deals together, we're investing, we're doing co-investments, all sorts of interesting things in a way that is, we call it community-driven venture, that is scalable and professional, and pretty interesting and exciting, if I do say so myself.
But tell me about some of the investments that you made through VC3 DAO, and what is the VC3 DAO? How many people are in that community?
So VC3 DAO is currently a network of 175 full-time professional VCs in over 28 countries, all coming right now from the Kaufman Fellows Network. We will eventually open it up beyond that, but right now it's all professional full-time VC investors. The thesis currently is to invest in early stage Web3 startups. And the thing that makes us a little bit different is that because we're all investors, all doing our own deals at our own funds, the only deals that we will look at as a community are deals sourced by our network. So we don't really take inbound kind of like cold emails or even introductions. One of our members usually is investing in the deal and sponsors the deal in our community. So we get super, super high quality deal flow in kind of a broad range of Web3 areas, usually at the kind of seed or Series A stage, or sometimes pre-seed. And we're investing a pretty high volume of smaller checks. So we do 100 to 250K checks. And then we also round up co-investments from our community. So because everyone, the 175 members all generally have their own funds, we ask people if they're interested in co-investing, and usually we'll get 3 or 4 or more people on every deal that are interested in co-investing with us, and we aggregate that. And it makes it a really interesting experience for the founders. We also add all of our founders to our DAO community, and so then we give them tokens, so then they can use those tokens for portfolio support, meaning if they are hiring, if they need introductions, if they need anything from our network, then they have a mechanism to request that with tokens, which is pretty interesting as well.
Now, I've had Orion from NeonDAO, who I'm sure you're familiar with on the call before, and then obviously it helps support Constellation DAO, and that there's the LAO and Neon and all that type of jazz. What makes VC3 DAO kind of different from those types of DAO funds or investment DAOs?
Yep. So there's a lot of really interesting stuff happening in the investment DAO landscape, and I think all of it is great. We're still at the beginning of the industry. I think we've got a long ways to go, but the promise is huge. I think that there's 2 types of investment DAOs. One is what you would call an investment club. So it's restricted by some legal regulation. So you can only have 99 members. They have to be accredited. So there's what we would call like something more like an angel group or a crowdfunding platform, something like that. There are some limitations to that. Then you have a kind of new wave of, call it venture DAOs, which are more like venture funds. And so NeonDAO we're very close with. We work with Origami, who was a spin out of NeonDAO, and our model is more similar to theirs, where we have a DAO, which is really a DAO community. It's where our investors live. It's where the token economy is. It's where we're doing the deal sourcing. It's where we're doing some of the diligence, and it's where we're doing the portfolio support. And then we have an entirely separate entity, which is a very traditional venture fund. And that fund is what makes the investments in and out of the companies on behalf of the DAO. So we are navigating compliance and legal in a way that I think is fairly sophisticated. It's taken a lot of work. I think this is one of the strengths that we bring to the table, is that all of our members are comfortable dealing with securities every day, dealing with professional investment rules every day. And so we're navigating it in a way that I think is scalable, and I think is is doable for people who want to invest real capital into the space rather than something that looks more like angel checks.
Right. Yeah, we talked about that, I think, on a call previously about the kind of compliance and legal. It's early, let's just say. It's early days on that particular framework as well. So VC3 DAO, and then there's an investment DAO summit coming up that you have in Puerto Rico. Can you tell us a little bit more about that as well?
There is.
And I'll put the link of the investment kind of DAO summit on the YouTube section as well, in the comment section.
Exactly. So the one of the main takeaways we've learned over the past year in building VC3 is that the community is the most important part. And cultivating community, you can do a lot digitally. You can do a lot with Zooms. You can do a lot with regular communication. But there is nothing that quite beats in-person connection. And this is something that we feel very strongly about in the Kauffman Fellows Network, which all of our members came from, where we meet at least once a year for an annual summit somewhere in the world. So it's a model that we're also familiar with, where we collaborate very effectively remotely, but then really getting together and hashing stuff out and really spending good quality time together is super important as you're building a community. So we have just announced our annual, it was initially going to be just our member annual meeting, but there was a lot of interest from other people in joining. So it's now half member meeting and half open to external participants. It's the Investment DAO Summit. We're having it in Puerto Rico at the end of February, so February 24th to 26th. We're limiting it mainly to Web3 GPs, LPs, and investment DAO experts. So whether you're running an investment DAO, participating in investment DAO, have a particular product or lens for the investment DAO world, it'll be about 100 people, and it should be very, very interesting. So excited about that, both in terms of the things we're going to get done there, because it's going to be a productive work session for our leadership team and for our community, but then also just the really interesting people that are coming that are really leading the charge in the investment DAO space. And as you said, Tuck, it's like this is still really, really early. As so people who are ahead of the curve, we can all learn from each other. I find that it's still a really collaborative space. It's not super competitive. And so we're all trying to make this stuff work. And so this is our way to get people together and to expedite that a little bit in person. So it's gonna be fun, and it is invitation only. But if you look at our website and if you're in the space, please request an invite, and would love to see you there.
I haven't been in Puerto Rico in like forever, and I am looking forward to warmer weather. It's quite cold currently here.
It's exactly what we did in February. All the cold places are gonna, they're very excited to come travel to Puerto Rico in February. So it's gonna be lovely, beautiful. Everything's on the beach. We're having a beach day at the end to celebrate. So it's gonna be fun too.
And kind of taking a step back as well, like, you've done work, I think, on a kind of other fund as well, and then with the DAO fund. How would you compare?
Oh man, it's so different, but in the best possible way. I'm a two-time entrepreneur. I started 2 legal tech companies that were venture backed. So I like very regulated. I like innovating in highly regulated industries, and to me, this is really fun because it's wild to be creating something in this space. The investment DAO really feels like some combination of a startup and a fund. Whereas a fund is a fund, right? Like funds are great. You have to be very good at it. There's a whole thing around that. With investment DAOs, you're really building both a platform, which includes product, process, all the things you would in a startup, and then there's also the investment piece of it. So it just kind of complicates things a lot. There's a lot more going on. That means there's a lot more interesting upside. There's a lot more interesting things you can do, but it's just a lot more work. I think as we initially did this, we're just going to have a lightweight way to invest together. It's going to be interesting. And the more we got into it, the more we realized how complicated it actually is. I love that, and I'm excited about that. And navigating that is something that we have a big chunk of our members. We have 12 elected committee chairs every season, and they're really diving into some really complicated technical things where, both on compliance, legal, tokens, product, that there's no precedent for. And for people who are innovators, right, who like startups, who like the innovation space, it's the best possible thing to do. But you really have to have a high tolerance for treading into the unknown, for navigating really complicated things that haven't been done before, for understanding things like securities laws and